Hello everyone. Today we're going to read some stories for fall. The first one is called Pumpkin Soup by Helen Cooper. And it's also a story about friendship, and sometimes friends fight, right? Pumpkin Soup by Helen Cooper. Deep in the woods, there's an old white cabin with pumpkins in the garden. There's a good smell of soup, and at night with luck, you might see a bagpiping cat through the window, and a squirrel with a banjo, and a small singing duck. Pumpkin soup, the best you ever tasted, made by the cat who slices up the pumpkin, made by the squirrel who stirs in the water, made by the duck who scoops up a pipkin of salt and tips in just enough. They slurp their soup, and they play their song, and then they pop off into bed in a quilt stitched together by the cat, embroidered by the squirrel, and filled with fine feathers from the duck. And it's peaceful in the old white cabin. Everyone has his own job to do, and everyone is happy, or so it seems. But one morning, the duck woke up early. He tiptoed into the kitchen, and he smiled at the squirrel's special spoon. "Wouldn't it be fine," he murmured, "if I could be the head cook?" He drew up a stool, he hopped on top, and he reached until his beak just touched the tip of the spoon, and kerplunk! Down it clattered. Then the duck trotted back to the bedroom, held up the spoon, and said, "Today, it's my turn to stir the soup." "That's mine," squeaked the squirrel. "Stirring is my job. Give that back." "Ha! You're much too small," snapped the cat. "We will cook the way we always have." But the duck held on tight until the squirrel tugged with all his might, and whoops! The spoon spun through the air and bopped the cat on the head. Then there was trouble, a horrible squabble, a row, a racket, a rumpus in the old white cabin. "I'm not staying here," wailed the duck. "You never let me help with anything," and he packed up a wheelbarrow, he put on his hat, and he waddled away. "You'll be back," stormed the cat, "after we've cleaned up." And the squirrel shook his spoon in the air, but the duck did not come back. Not for breakfast, not even for lunch. "I'll find him," scoffed the cat. "He'll be hiding outside. I bet he's in the pumpkin patch." But the duck was not in the pumpkin patch. They could not find him anywhere. So they waited all that long afternoon. The cat watched the door, and the squirrel paced the floor. "That duck will be sorry when he comes home," they muttered. But the duck did not come home, not even at soup time. Yuck! Salty, too much salt. The soup was not tasty. They had made it too salty. They did not feel hungry anyway. They both sobbed over supper, and their tears dripped into the soup and made it even saltier. "We should have let him stir the soup," snippled the squirrel. "He was only trying to help," wept the cat. "Let's go out and look for him." The cat and the squirrel were scared as they wandered down the path in the dark, dark woods. They feared for the duck, all alone with the trees and the foxes and the wolves and the witches and the bears. But they could not find him. On and on they trudged until they reached the edge of a steep, steep cliff. "Maybe he fell down that," wailed the cat. "I'll save him," squeaked the squirrel, and he scrambled down on a long, shaky rope. He searched all around on the ground, but he could not find the duck. Then the cat whispered in a sad little voice, "Duck might have found some better friends." "He might," sighed the squirrel, "friends who let him help. And the more they thought about it, as they plodded back, the more they were sure they were right. But when they were almost home, they saw a light shining from the old white cabin. "It's Duck!" they shrieked as they burst through the door, and the duck was so happy to see them. He was also very hungry, and though it was late, they thought they would all make some pumpkin soup. When the duck stirred, the cat and the squirrel did not say a word, not even when the duck stirred the soup so fast that it slopped right out of the pot. Not even when the pot got burnt. Then the duck showed the squirrel how to measure out the salt, and the soup was still the best you ever tasted. So once again it was peaceful in the old white cabin until the duck said, "I think I'll play the bagpipes now." And there they are fighting again. And that is the story of pumpkin soup. So today we have a rhyme called pumpkin pie. I see my pumpkins are already falling. But here we go. I'll just change this up a little bit. Okay. 5 little pumpkins sitting on the ground. Pull it off. The first one said, "I'm big, orange, and round." The second one said, "I'm fresh off the vine." The third one said, "I taste divine." The fourth one said, "I'm ready to be tasted." And the fifth one said, "Bake my seeds so they're not wasted." Someone from the kitchen picked them all up, and we know why. The 5 little pumpkins all became pumpkin pie. Okay. Our next story is called Pumpkin Day, Pumpkin Night. And it's by Anne Rockwell. Anne Rockwell does great stories for young children, and this one's illustrated by Megan Halsey. I know it's pumpkin time when leaves turn red, yellow, and orange. The squirrels know that it's pumpkin time too, and they collect seeds and nuts in their cheek pouches. They are getting ready for winter. They know that when pumpkin time comes, winter can't be far away. At school, we draw faces on paper pumpkins that we cut out of orange construction paper. We write our names on them. We tape our paper pumpkins to the classroom window so everyone walking past my school will know that pumpkin time is here. At home, I draw more pumpkin faces. Some look like this and some like this. But I've decided that I like the one with the biggest, widest grin, the best of all. Finally, it's Pumpkin Day. My mother and I get in the car and we drive to the farmer's market. Baskets overflow with ears of corn. There are apples, too, that smell crisp and tangy sweet just like fall. The same old scarecrow stuffed with straw lies sprawled exactly where he was last year, across the big pile of pumpkins. There are so many of them, more than I can count. I don't want any pumpkin, though. Nope, I want a pumpkin that is as big and round and orange as the setting sun. This pumpkin is too tall and skinny. This round one still has patches of green. This is the biggest pumpkin I've ever seen. It is big and round and orange, but I think it's much too big to be my pumpkin, for it won't even fit in the car. These are the smallest pumpkins I've ever seen. Oh, look, Jeffrey, my mother says as soon as she sees them. Look at these cute little pumpkins. I think those pumpkins are much too little to be my jack-o'-lantern, I shake my head and say. But they're not too little for pumpkin pies, my mother says. The little ones are the sweetest ones of all. And so she buys 10 of them. But I don't want 10 little pumpkins. I just want one big one. So I look some more. And then suddenly, hiding behind the scarecrow, I see it. I see my perfect pumpkin. It is on the grass, where it had rolled away from the others. I think it was waiting there just for me. I hold my perfect round orange pumpkin carefully on my lap, going home in the car. Beside me is in a paper bag are my mother's 10 little pumpkins. I can't wait to get home, I say. Neither can I, she says with a smile. I sit at the kitchen table and I carefully draw a face on my pumpkin. I copy the picture with the wide, wide grin. My mother cuts into the top with its sturdy stalk. She makes a circle cap that comes off and fits neatly back on my pumpkin. I scoop slimy seeds from inside the pumpkin. I put them in a pan and I sprinkle them with oil and salt. My mother roasts them in the oven along with the 10 little pumpkins for pumpkin pie. The kitchen begins to fill with a nutty, yummy smell, while my mother carves out a face on my pumpkin exactly as I drew it, with the grin exactly as wide as I wanted it. While we wait for the little pumpkins to finish baking, my mother and I put on warm jackets and we go outside. I carry my pumpkin to the old cast iron table next to the porch swing and I set it down. I put a fat candle inside where the seeds used to be. My mother lights it, and as soon as she does, my pumpkin has a mysterious grinning glow. Jeffrey, that's the greatest jack-o'-lantern I've ever seen, my mother says. I smile because I know that what she says is true. I watch my pumpkin glowing in the night. Almost all the leaves have blown away. The trees stretch their bare black limbs across the sky. I can see every single star up there, I think. Look, Mom, I say, the stars are so bright. The stars in the sky are very bright, that's true, but they're not as bright as my pumpkin. It glows a fiery orange on a dark and starry night. My perfect pumpkin grins at the big round moon, white and bright, way up in the sky, while all the little pumpkins turn into pie. And that is Pumpkin Day, Pumpkin Night. We have these books at the Sachem Library if you want to borrow any of them, and thank you for joining me for Storytime today.